Alright guys, today I've got some special items for you that you really want to go for right away, and this is going to give you one of the strongest builds right away. I'm talking about insane amounts of damage, spamming abilities right from your very first turn, and there's also a really cool roulette mechanic that can give you some insane damage buffs. So we're gonna check that in this video, and let's dive right in. So this whole build pretty much relies on a very interesting mechanic if you want to spice things up, and that's the roulette pictos. So every hit has a 50% chance to either deal 50% or 200% of its damage. I think that averages out at around 25% damage over the course of multiple fights, but the thing is, the more hits one of your attack has, the higher the chance for that is to trigger, which means you're going to have higher chances to pretty much one-shot those targets, or at the very least deal insane amounts of damage. And here is the thing about roulette: it's not just the damage that can benefit from the bonus, it's also your break mechanic. So for example, if you were to gain that 200, or in this case 4x multiplier, that's going to apply to the break as well. So this can result in instantaneously breaking even one of the toughest enemies right away in the same shot. And it just so happens that it doesn't take too long to unlock one of the coolest abilities that benefits a lot from this, which is Lune's Mayhem. That is a 4-hit combo that you can pull off with just 3 AP, but you need to generate stains. So now we kind of have to fix that. Which we can, because we can also get a very early on weapon called the Trabukim, which literally gives you stains on every single aim shot. So what this means, the only other thing we have to take into account now is to generate as much AP as possible so that we can literally unleash all of this in the first turn. And second of all, maybe buff our damage to insane levels so that when it does trigger that damage, we do get the highest possible numbers. So let me show you exactly what you need to do to get all of the items in order. So first, we're going to get the critical burn. You're going to find it right here past the first flag in the Spring Meadows. So if you keep it to the right side, you should find a small gap with the critical burn pictos at the end of it. This is going to give us 25% increased critical chance on burning enemies. So it's literally one of the best in the entire game. For the next one, we will find it very close to the entrance of the Flying Waters. Following this route to the left and ignoring all of the enemies before you reach any flag, you will eventually reach this area with an opening to your left side. Circle around, go in the gap, and defeat any enemy nearby because they protect the next pictos, which is the marking shots. This gives us a 20% chance to apply mark on free aim shot. Many of your abilities also get buffed by marking shots and get extra effects, plus you're going to get extra AP from another pictos in just a little bit if you use it against marked enemies. Next important item is going to be a little bit further in the Flying Waters in a place called the Coral Cave. As you're making your way out of it from the flag over there, you're going to keep it to the left once again up until you see this enemy jumping in front of you. If you defeat it and then again go in the gap to your left, you should find the rewarding mark. It gives you plus 2 AP on dealing damage to a marked target once per turn. So that's literally going to synergize perfectly with the previous pictos we just got. For the fifth item, we need that weapon for Lune. So in this case, we're going to head over to the Ancient Sanctuary Maze waypoint, so pretty much around the middle of the map, and follow this route towards the village. In this case, you will reach an arena with a blue crystal in the middle and a trebuchet enemy next to it. Go ahead, defeat it, and it's going to give you the Trabukim, which gives you random stains on free aim shots at level 4, which it already starts at. So that's going to let us now get pretty much all the stains we need to cast the Mayhem on our very first turn. The only thing missing from the build is a bit of spice provided by roulette and obviously a bit of extra AP. So for the roulette, we're going to find it at the Gambler over in the Gestural Village. You will need to head over all the way in the backs opposite from the entrance, past the arena up until you reach this place. Talk to the Gambler and just tell them you don't care about the odds and you are going to get the pictos. Then we're going to get at least one energizing start pictos because they give us plus 1 AP at the very start of the fight. You will literally find it right here, just a little bit to the left side of the Stone Wave Cliffs on the continent. So it's going to be right here on the beach next to a vendor. Besides this, if you want even more AP like that, there's a level 3 version that you can get right after you found and recruit SQA for the first time. As you make your way out of the arena, you should find Energizing Start 3 right as you're about to descend. But we need some extra AP besides this too, especially when we defeat targets, since we do all the time, or when we break them, since that also happens quite often. So this can be found very close to Lumiere Streets towards the end of Flying Waters. In this case, following this route to the left, we're going to make our way towards the secret Chromatic Troubadour boss encounter following this route, eventually circling around and jumping on the area below. In this case, you can either ignore or defeat the boss because the Pictos is going to be right behind it. And in this case, we can grab it from right here. This will give us the energizing break plus 3 AP on breaking a target. So Mayhem is one of the best abilities for that, which means we can spam that even more often in the next turn. Technically, there's one earlier than this, pretty much in the first map. So once you defeat one of the main enemies and go to the Spring Meadows after you encounter the jar in the area, you should go right here for the Abandoned Expeditioner, just using this route over here to your right up until you reach the end, and that's going to give you the Dead Energy 2 plus 3 AP on killing an enemy, which is exactly what you need. Now, technically, if you also want to combine this with more burning stacks, since that's going to give you even more critical hit chance, you can go at the entrance of the Ancient Sanctuary and follow this downward path over here up until you reach a small jumping platform puzzle. In this case, take it down to the platform and that's going to give you the burning mark. Apply burn on hitting a marked enemy, which is going to happen almost all the time. And once you have all of these active at the same time, this is what you can achieve with it. So let me show you one of the examples. In this case, usually you're going to want to maybe start with Gustav, as he can both apply marking shots on his own as well once you unlock those abilities, plus take down some of the shields for you. So in this case, 2 shots, apply the mark, and it still has 1 more shield, but it's not really a problem. I typically like doing this until I have no less than 3 AP, because I also like casting Powerful, which gives me a very strong party-wide buff. In this case, it gives me extra critical hit chance, plus more speed for everybody who's affected. But now it's time to switch to Lune, so in this case, I'm going to just do a free aim once, which generates one of those free random stains for me. Second hit is going to generate that again, but it's also going to give me 2 AP back since we free aimed against a marked target. And then I will just do it a couple more times until I generate 4 total stains. So yeah, I was lucky enough and got a mark while still having 3 AP. And the 3 AP we need at a bare minimum so that we can cast the Mayhem. But now we can fully cast Mayhem. We also have the target marked. It's also under the effect of fire, so we deal extra critical hit chance against it. So once I unleash my full Mayhem, as you can see, it's absolutely getting destroyed. We had 7,000 damage on the first hit. Some of the others were a little bit more unlucky because of the roulette mechanic. But like I said, that double damage increase on the first literally gave us enough break to instantly shatter and break the target right away. Which, by the way, also benefits my AP, as we get +3 when the break happens. So now you can just continue the normal way, and once we're back to Lune, we can either go to another Mayhem or use any multi-hit ability. For example, Thunderfall is multi-hit, so it has a higher chance to at least have one of the shots deal 4x damage. So in this case, it, yeah, pretty much one-shots both of them. So that's going to be very good, even though some of the other hits did not benefit from break. And that's going to be how you're going to proceed from this point on. You're going to start the buff sequence with Gustav. You're going to then try to apply marking shots, burn effect with the aim-free shots against the target. So once you have the 4 stains, you can immediately just unleash that very powerful Mayhem and absolutely destroy the target. As you can see, I'm at a stage in the game where I wasn't supposed to deal like 10,000 plus damage, but I am dealing it very often. Sometimes you may even see like 12,000 damage on some of these shots over here, but it depends a little bit on luck. So yes, if you maybe want to mix in a little bit of gambling addiction in the game and have the roulette going, it can be very beneficial, but you can also go without it, as you can just straight up buff the damage the normal way and not deal with the plus 200% damage increase. Now, by the way, in this case, I was using Sayel, but you can also go, for example, with Mael, and she's going to use the PRSA instead. That actually deals more damage. I think that you can easily reach 20k damage with it much sooner if you were to play around more with the mark mechanic, but you would obviously need to put her in the second place or generate more marks with whoever comes before her. So here's what we're working with in terms of the skills. For Lune, your best ability is going to be the Mayhem. You're going to want to go for this right away. It's just 3 AP to cast, and it's also going to deal insane amounts of damage, but you will need to generate stains, which you do anyway by having the Trabukim weapon. Now, before that, you can use some of the other skills, such as Immolation and Wildfire, if you want to apply more burn stacks. Immolation also takes advantage of the marked mechanic to apply even more stacks of burn. Plus, Thunderfall, since we went with a crit build, benefits a lot from that to, trigger additional hits. Eventually, you can even go for the Elemental Trig. This is going to, again, go very well with critical hits, especially since with Lune, we can go with at least 65-75% plus critical rate from the very early stages. So that's what we're gonna check in just a little bit. In the meantime, for Gustav, your main ability will be early on the marking shot, since that's going to be your most reliable way of applying mark, but eventually you're going to switch to the marking shots, Pictos, that pretty much handles that for you. Everything else until then is going to be Lumiere, Assault, and Overcharge. Both of these will remain amazing all the way to mid-game. Between Sayel and Mael, you can actually go with either the one or the other. I think that Sayel actually has some really amazing AoE capabilities as well, especially Bad Omen can be really good to apply Foretell to multiple enemies. She also has eventually the Grim Harvest, which is one of the best AoE group heals in the whole game and couples really well with a later game weapon. But until then, you can totally make use of Mael, and she has some really good abilities over here. Specifically, Swift Stride you can get right away. It's low AP, and since you apply stacks of burning anyway, you can easily switch to Virtuoso Stance for the plus 200% extra damage increase, and then still couple it with PRSA, which further takes advantage of that, reduces AP cost even more, and further increases damage if you have the marked applied on the target. And that's going to be double damage dip, by the way, so you can easily reach 10,000 damage with her from very early on, but it's single target damage. As far as the attributes go, you're going to want to mainly focus on Might and Agility because you want to go first, and also Might to buff your damage. But specifically for Lune, in this case, I kind of went with Luck because I'm going with a double version of this build that also makes use of Thunderfall, so I do need a critical rate. So between the 40% I'm getting here and the 25% from critical burn, it's 65%, which is not too bad. We can easily get 75% if I switch up some of the Pictos too. For everybody else, again, full Might and Agility will be your best bet since critical rate on those doesn't really matter. But in terms of the Pictos, here is what we're going to be using. The ones you have equipped don't really matter. If you go with Lune, in this case, you just want critical rate and speed. I would say those are the best options for her. Everything else doesn't really matter once again. What matters is the ones that you apply via the Lumina. So obviously critical burn for everybody for 25% increased chance. Besides this, I'm also using Energizing Start 3. This one is equipped because it costs 15 points, so it's very expensive. But the first one is actually not that expensive. So the first one is only 5 points. So that's why we can actually have this not equipped but triggered over here. Also going with everything else that increases our damage. So obviously going with the Roulette, this is going to be very important. Marking shots as well as the rewarding mark, since we need the extra AP and the chance to apply extra mark on the target. Everything else is to further provide either extra AP, either for example when you break targets or when you defeat them in combat, which is +3. That is going to be very strong. Every single character has those as well, mind you, because we are going to want to spam our abilities as soon as possible. But yeah, that pretty much concludes today's video. Let me know down below if you found any other crazy combos. In the meantime, totally check out the Perfect Start Guide if you want to, or some of my early on tips if you want to own everything. And I'm gonna see you guys in the next video.